You're watching Mirror 7 News. Stay informed, stay ahead for more news.
So, there's been quite a bit of talk lately about New Zealand Rugby and how it handles player eligibility, especially when it comes to the NPC, that's the National Provincial Championship. The big question on everyone's mind is whether New Zealand needs to follow in the footsteps of countries like Australia and South Africa by relaxing its eligibility laws for the All Blacks. And honestly, looking at how things are evolving globally, it really seems like it's time for New Zealand to seriously consider some changes. Here's the thing. Australia Rugby recently announced they're open to selecting players from overseas, which is a shift from their previous stance. South Africa has already been doing this for a while, and has enjoyed significant success. Their approach lets them pick the best talent, regardless of where they're playing professionally. It's no secret that South Africa's depth has grown stronger because of this more flexible system. Now, New Zealand Rugby has traditionally stuck to stricter rules, essentially requiring players to be involved in New Zealand competitions like the NPC or Super Rugby to be eligible for the All Blacks. But this approach is starting to show cracks. Look at some current All Black stars like Jordie Barrett or Ardie Savea. Neither of them made their case purely by dominating the NPC last season. In fact, Savea is even set to be picked while playing in Japan next year, a clear sign that NZ Rugby has already bent the rules when it suits them. The NPC itself has transformed into more of a community-focused competition than a high-performance pathway. NZ Rugby's own community rugby manager, Steve Lancaster, recently mentioned that the NPC is now about fans seeing local players represent their provinces, often playing in suburban grounds rather than high-stakes arenas. Even All Blacks coach Scott Robertson admitted that NPC games for some players are mostly for conditioning rather than top-level performance. With the NPC's salary cap at around $840,000, it's an expensive community asset, but it doesn't seem to be the main proving ground for future All Blacks anymore. Many top players skip it, or only return for brief stints, because they have lucrative overseas contracts and sabbatical clauses. This raises an important question. If the NPC isn't the key pathway, then why insist players must be playing in New Zealand to qualify for the All Blacks? Some argue that these eligibility rules protect the domestic game and ensure loyalty. But times have changed. The global rugby landscape is different, and player careers don't always follow traditional paths. In fact, limiting selections to those playing locally could push players to leave New Zealand permanently, chasing opportunities abroad with no chance of returning to the All Blacks. That would be a big loss. So what could New Zealand do? Looking at Australia and South Africa, NZ Rugby could introduce a more flexible system that allows overseas players to be eligible for the All Blacks, possibly with some conditions or limits. This would help keep New Zealand competitive on the world stage while recognizing the realities of modern professional rugby. In the end, it's about adapting to a changing game. New Zealand Rugby might want to keep tradition, but it shouldn't come at the cost of losing top talent or falling behind internationally. The NPC remains a beloved and important competition for communities, but when it comes to selecting the best All Blacks, maybe it's time to look beyond the provincial borders. Stay subscribed for more videos.